Hello dear viewer, this video is going to be a little bit different, but hopefully you enjoy it. I don't know, it's kind of a mashup of a lot of things, so it'll either be really great or really terrible. I guess we'll find out. This week I had planned on making a video about Boundless, which comes out for PS4 on September 11th and is currently available in early access on Steam, but my captured gameplay footage is bad. I adjusted some settings and couldn't make it work, so I went digging through my captured game footage folder to look for what I should talk about this week instead. I discovered that I have loads of partially completed videos that for one reason or another were never finished, so rather than waste all of that work, here's my mashup video of incomplete projects. First, of course, let's talk about Boundless for a moment. You can see how choppy this footage is. Unfortunately, due to the processing power this game requires, I am unable to simultaneously record it. I am working on a solution to this problem, but it won't be resolved anytime soon. Short review of the game? It's great. It's a sort of MMO version of Minecraft with lots of different worlds to visit and more on the way. I enjoy it, I recommend it, and I look forward to getting the console version so that my wife and I can play together. Next up is 3-pack bundles for the PlayStation 2. As far as I can tell, there are 20 different 3-packs, including both variants of Devil May Cry 5th Anniversary Collection. I currently own 8 of these, and some of these releases are odd. For example, Grand Theft Auto got a dual pack and a 3-pack release. The Metal Gear Solid 3-pack includes a PS1 game. The Dragon Ball Z 3-pack contains DBZ, Budokai Tenkaichi 1, 2, and Super Dragon Ball Z. Tenkaichi 3 is on the PS2, but not in this pack. Special editions are interesting, and I'm trying to collect them over standard Black Label versions of the game when possible. Next up is Bujingai, an action fighting game for the PlayStation 2. I do believe that this may very well fall into the hidden gem category. It's fast, fun, and controls surprisingly well. One day I may go back to this game for a full review. Give it a shot if you have a PS2 and enjoy action games. A project that I was nearly done with and scrapped was a video game collecting video. The plan was to talk about how to make the best use of eBay, Amazon, and price charting, as well as show off some of the oddball items and non-games in my collection. I was not in a good mood while making that video, and I worry that it may have been unpleasant to watch. Some highlights. If you have a half-price bookstore near you, always check their clearance section. It's a great way to find cheap games and game guides. Also, they buy and sell PC games, so they're a good resource for finding DOS and Windows 95 titles. Please learn how eBay auctions work. It's generally the most affordable way to collect video games. Note that I said auctions. The buy it now sales should be ignored 90% of the time. And here are some of the other fun things that I own that are not PS2 related. Ooh. Next topic, tabletop gaming. I love tabletop games, but haven't figured out the best way to make a video about them. Also, tabletop games may be a little bit off topic for this channel, I don't know. I recorded my friend Nate and I playing his copy of Keyflower, and I figured I'd be able to edit together something fun, but never got around to it. Nate's a cool dude, and Keyflower is a fun worker placement game, but Caverna remains my favorite. This next video was the closest to completion of all of these. It just needed to have the edited audio put back with the video and maybe a few flubbed lines cut. It was just a short rant about what I think the perfect video game would be. Spoiler, it's the Oasis from Ready Player One, which is the best book ever written, by the way. Read it. Next is one of those crappy game packs built into a controller that Walgreens was selling for a while. I've seen these at Target as well. I knew it would be bad, but I figured there'd be something worthwhile in there somewhere. I was wrong. It's a piece of crap. Don't buy it. All of the games are the opposite of fun. Then there's the Shrek controller. This is an oddball item that would be fun to talk about, but I'm not willing to remove it from its blister pack. Blister pack. I've never understood why they're called that, but they are frustrating to open, so it makes sense that they'd get named after an injury. Remember when I mentioned buying PC games from half-price books? I need to stop doing that. I find some great games for some real deals, but the PS2 stuff takes up most of my gaming time, with the PS4 and modern PC games coming next. I have a small stack of games and I have played most of them, but I've never gotten around to making videos out of any of them. Yet. I wanted to do one for this remastered version of the first Witcher game, but I wasn't enjoying it. There is this 3-pack of Russian games though. These are pretty good. Maybe I'll come back to that. A video that I spent an entire day setting up was trying to turn my Raspberry Pi into a DOSbox. It took forever and it didn't work very well. I figured out a different way that may have worked better, but I had already lost an entire day and never got back to this project. Raspberry Pis are super cool, but there's a lot to learn when you set one up. At one point I captured a lot of footage for a game called Pixelmon, which is a mod for Minecraft that adds Pokemon. Two things though. First, Nintendo shut it down. It's still possible to get this mod, but it's kind of a pain and you won't have the giant list of different releases. And second, I didn't want to review the game. I wanted to use it to tell a story, but with Pixelmon, there's really only one story: catch Pokemon. Pixelmon is fantastic and one of the greatest things to ever exist, by the way. Next up is Quartet for the Sega Master System. I grew up with the Sega Master System. During one Christmas in the 80s, my stepdad went out to buy me a Nintendo Entertainment System, but they were sold out, so I got a Sega Master System instead. There weren't as many games, but what we did have were 3D titles and more colors and processing power, so eat it, Nintendo kids. I'm just teasing. NES had loads of great titles, and the Master System here in the States only had a handful, and Quartet was one of those. As an adult, I also respect this game for having a playable character that's bald. And then we have Raw Danger for the PS2. This is a surprisingly good game with possibly the worst game case artwork on the console. In this title, you start out as a server at a ritzy hotel event in a fictional city when the dam breaks. Your goal is to find your way out and keep yourself and your friends from freezing to death. It turns out this game's a sequel to another game I've never heard of named Disaster Report. Raw Danger is sort of like an adventure game mashed up with some survival gameplay, but what makes this adventure special is the storyline. Well, at least what I've played of it. I never did try it again after my first playthrough, hence no video of its own. This next video may be the one that I regret not making the most, and it is Rock People vs. Wood People Part 2. If you haven't seen the first video, please go watch that. It's the best video I've made so far. It's a creative telling of some crazy things that happened in my cabin while I was at Epic Nerd Camp last year. The follow-up video would have been a story about those of us from camp catching up and trying to keep our sanity despite signs of the rock people all around us. As a side note, I won't be able to make it to Epic Nerd Camp this year, but I might be going to Japan next year. And then there's the Rule of Rose Let's Play video. Rule of Rose is not fun to play. I did a review of this game because it's an important title for PlayStation 2 game collectors, as it is the most valuable game on the system. I guess I didn't abandon that video so much as I adjusted it to something more appropriate. If you are a PlayStation 2 game collector, get this game sooner than later. The price keeps rising. If you are not a collector, then never play this game. The story is interesting, but you can find the videos of that on YouTube. The gameplay is terrible. The final partially completed project is Fort ARWE. There was a group of us who were trying to solve the game surrounding the Ready Player One movie release, and during that time I was playing a lot of Dwarf Fortress, so to make things more interesting, and because I was planning on making a video about it, I began to name dwarves after the members of that team. It was an interesting fort with some crazy stories to tell that mostly surround two were-iguanas. Yes, dwarves that transformed into iguana monsters during a full moon. The first infestation broke out in our hospital and it was a bloodbath. During that were-iguana killfest, I was able to wall up that hospital so that the last surviving creature, a dwarf named Phantom, wouldn't be able to escape and cause trouble, but eventually I needed to get in there and bury the bodies or I would be dealing with a ghost infestation. Phantom would change back and forth between forms as the years went by, but he was so badly injured that he was unable to leave his bed, so one day I decided it was time to clean up the old hospital. I took down the wall and sent in Phantom's friend Corax to pull out the corpses, and of course I mistimed the whole thing and the full moon came and Phantom murdered his friend while stuck in bed. There was another surviving were-iguana named Interdude who was locked in his bedroom. He went crazy and fell in love with his axe. That fort had a lot of unusual problems. Our expedition leader Jane was hoarding food in her office as well. I love Dwarf Fortress. What a strange game. The art you're seeing was drawn by my friend Friday, who's also in the Grandpa's VCR video. I'm sad that I never got to use this sweet artwork up until now. Fun fact, the faces of these dwarves are based off of their human counterparts from that Discord group I mentioned earlier. And that's the video, so like, comment, subscribe, those things in that order. Don't subscribe first. Like first, then comment, then subscribe. Maybe I should say that in different order. Let's go with subscribe, comment, then like. I think that's actually the most important. So subscribe, comment, and then like. Do it in that order.